table from you. You've got to put a face to the demands in that. That's why you don't have CEOs at the table a lot of times. They don't want to. They can make the decisions in a vacuum, and they don't have to see the consequences of it. That's why they put other people out there to do that for them. But in this case, we did have the CEO there at the table, so he could see what the consequences are, and we had to make him feel the concern and the anxiety that he was going to have to live with. So we, made all kinds of overtones about sabotaging the equipment. Okay? We downloaded a lot of articles off of the internet and laid them around the plant about, this equipment being sabotaged and that equipment. That's all they were. Nobody was doing anything.
You never said anything, did you?
No. We just downloaded the articles and laid them out there, okay, for people to read. Hey, look at this article I found, and it wasn't us. It was members that would do that. We had a group of guys that would always end up at the same shopping center, at the same church as the CEO would on Sundays and that, and in the evenings, okay? Wouldn't say nothing, just kind of bump into the guy and say, hey, how you doing? And that's it. How's negotiations going? Or they're not going too well. And then walk off, okay? Got to a point where, the guy became very paranoid, very concerned. When he would walk out into the plant, he would wear a flak jacket and a helmet with a face guard on it because he was afraid of being shot at. You can do all kinds of things you can do to think creatively and do things. I mean, we had guys strike on the job at our plant down in Kentucky. Basically, the employer essentially paid them for 2 weeks while they couldn't work at all because he thought somebody was trying to sabotage the plant, and he called the FBI in, and they made it a crime scene and conducted a thorough investigation and had to interview everybody, and nobody operated or did anything. Okay? They didn't find nothing after that. Nobody did anything. There's just a lot of literature laying out about industrial sabotage to powerhouses. It's downloaded off the internet, and then a strategically placed screwdriver near a turbine rotor that was out of service and everything, but it was just laying there. And that, coupled with all these other kind of insinuations about the possibility, caused the plant manager to overreact, and we got to sit there for 2 weeks. Our facility at the steel mill was out on strike we ended up being on strike for 2 years. We had a relatively young leadership in the plant. He convinced his fellow members that we needed to stand up and be real men and strike. We had riots. We had all kinds of things go on. I had a nice drive back from St. Louis to Iowa on a Sunday afternoon so that I could become a ward of Lee County until my trial. So for inciting a riot that destroyed several police cars and a number of other things. So it was a nice little vacation.
So you have to get your membership informed, united, and militant, which implies that you get the best contract deal when you also have a bargaining campaign. In order to get your members to do that, you have to convince them that the group goals are more important than their own individual goals. When you have a crisis, you have an opportunity to introduce a shock, which is a massive change. Generally speaking, if you're following the neoliberal playbook, it's one which shifts power dramatically.
You've got to understand whether or not you do have a credible strike ability, okay? And if you don't, what can you do then to maximize your impact on the employer's operation that can bring about pressure for them to make concessions in your proposals, or to your proposals? You don't have a credible strike threat really within the electric utility industry, in the powerhouses, because employers can idle their units and transport power in from across the country and operate for months and months and months, okay? So that doesn't become a viable threat. However, taking control of their system is a viable threat. Okay? If they can't get in there to idle or do things, you can really create some havoc. So that's why you look at, okay, let's set it up to where we're not going to go on strike. We're going to strike in. Everybody's going to lock the doors. We're going to slam the doors shut. We're going to occupy and take over the plant.
Oh, I would argue that fascism absolutely means capitalism. It's part of the definition. I had a friend who worked in a utility company in Peru, and they were also, it was illegal for them to strike, and they were on strike, okay? But the system was operating, and they had military in there. And so they couldn't get access to do that, but they had a lot of cats. And they succeeded in putting cats in powerhouses. And the cats, now don't think about the cats, okay? The cats would run around inside and short out the system and cause power blackouts. And that created enough chaos in the system. This was Lima, the electric utility of Lima, Peru, that they were able to get some negotiating position.
Plus they got rid of feral cats.
Plus they got rid of feral cats, right?
Of things, but again, you've got to think creatively, oftentimes, for these things.